This is a short video, hopefully, on doing transfers. Pretty much all the functions of the transfer, how I do a store-to-store transfer, a customer transfer, how to receive a transfer. So we're going to do this in the live system, and we'll run through a transaction just so you can see how it goes. So we're going to do a customer transfer to begin with. Proper procedure for a customer transfer, and I'm going to do this on my own account. And this is if we use this if a customer wants to get an item from another location. So I'm going to go ahead and select myself here in our example, and we're going to do a special order. So a customer transfer from another store is considered a special order. In this example, I'm going to do a KC. I'm going to do a kazoo. And it's going to pop up and say where the kazoos are. I would then put a 1 in the quantity. Now the difference between these three fields here means quantity is what we want to order. Picked is if we have one of these items in stock, but the customer is not going to pick it up right now. That's one way to handle it, would be like a picked. Or if he's ordering multiple items and we have some of them on hand, but not all of them, you would pick the items we have on hand and you would request transfer on the other items. So in this example, I'm going to go ahead and transfer one SKU using the request transfer. And when I do that, this window should pop up. Here we go. And it's going to say, okay, where am I going to get these from? I'm going to get this situation. I'm going to pull it from Escanaba. I'm going to take one kazoo from them. And I'm going to go ahead and save it now. Once I have it, the line item here, you can do that by pressing F12. It says, do you want to take a deposit? At this point, I'm not going to. Now, here's the thing. If I print off a customer transfer on a receipt, typically the system will crash. What you have to do is you have to do it as a large ticket item. And we're not really going to print it, but just to show you what it looks like. Now, what I'll do many times, this is the order, the customer part, the customer would see an order. Now, the next thing that pops up here is the actual transfer request. The way we handle these are we typically print these off to the location that we're doing the request from. That's seems to be best practice. So in this situation, I would switch it to Escanaba and I would print it. And hopefully they're going to look and say, oh, they need to pull this item. But we're going to go ahead and click cancel print. Now that's done. Now another thing we could have done is just place the item on, or we could use the third tab, the comments tab, if we wanted to say, well, we need to have this item by a certain date or add more information. Second step, so that's kind of the best practice for doing a customer transfer. Then the next best practice, we don't want to call another store and say, hey, can you pull this item? Or, I mean, we might want to pull it, but we don't want them to actually do the transfer. The transfer should always be done by the store that wants the item. Nothing should have to fall on the store that has the item besides pulling the product and setting off to the side. So when you get a phone call, you do not transfer it in the system. What you could do in this situation is view transfer requests. And this was pulled from Escanaba. And one trick with this today, you'll notice a couple of things. First off, every once in a while, it's good. This only looks at things from the past month. Occasionally what we'll do is I will look at a larger time frame just to make sure that nothing has slipped behind. We've had it happen before where things have been over a month behind and then they don't show up anymore. So the easy one is right here on this. If you look at the left window and the right window, one of these says customer. This is our kazoo, of course. The proper way to transfer this is to right click on it and click transfer. Now what that's going to do is pull up this transfer request window. Now recently we've had some problems with this. This is the right way to do it. You would say pull in transfer requests, And at this point, we would right click on the quantity on this line anywhere. And because I'm going to give, I'm in Escanaba now, I'm going to give Green Bay their kazoo, and there's only one item, I would probably say pull highlighted line. Or, pull all items into the transfer. Now, it's pulled in, so quantity requested, quantity selected, 1. Okay, so we're good to go here. Okay, pull all items in. Now I can select, I can click exit, but you'll notice it's here. Now, once I click save, that item will disappear off of this list. What we've had happen is people will click request, they won't know how to clear this, and they'll make mistakes. They'll try to pull it in, and it'll end up they'll make a mistake. And what they'll do is they'll type it in here. Well, if we type a kazoo in here, that request will stand out. It'll stay outstanding. You have to do the pull in to make it actually pull into inventory. I'm gonna go ahead and click save here. Now I've just transferred one of my kazoos from Escanaba to Green Bay. This is important. If it's a customer item, again, you cannot do a small receipt. You must do a large receipt. If it is anything else, the small receipt should work. But we know for a fact that customer items, cause AIMsi to crash at this point. So now, if you notice when I did that, all of a sudden, all of my customer item is no longer here. So that would be the proper procedure on doing a customer transfer, and from the other aspect, seeing it or transferring the actual item. Now I'm going to go back into inventory management. Inventory transfer options. We're just going to talk about these other options. You'll only use 4 options here. There's store-to-store transfers. That's if someone did not make a request. This should be used fairly infrequently. This is like if someone has a random item that they want to send up. No one actually asked for it, but you want to just pick some items and send them up. That you'd use store-to-store transfers. Receive store transfers is another option. Now, with this, just so we're on the same page here, I would look at going to go transfer to Green Bay. So to recap, I did a customer request for a kazoo on my account. I went to Escanaba. I viewed transfer request. I actually transferred the item. Now the trick would be to actually receive that item. So I would look at transfer to Green Bay, 127 Escanaba to Green Bay, Horner kazoo. To receive this item, okay, we can do it one of 2 ways. You can go tag all items. You have the option here, insert overshipment item. We don't use that often. Cancel all unreceived items, untag items, or tag all items. So I'm going to tag this as having one. And then we click save. You can also, one thing to point out is you can scan these items. It's covered up right now, but in the bottom right-hand corner of this window, you could scan these items. I don't believe there's any reason to print off the transfer, the received receipt. But even so we've covered, let's go down here. So we've talked about store to store. We've talked about receiving store transfers and viewing transfer requests. The only thing I don't believe we've talked about is a transfer request. A transfer request is simply requesting an item from another store without being on a customer's account. So again, if it's a customer, we can definitely and should definitely use the system special order process. If we just want to send some items up to another store, or if I want to request a couple of items from another store, that's what this is. This is all about requesting product from another store. So it's important. But again, not on the customer's account, just to fill what we have. So that's a short overview on how to do transfers. There are a couple of tricks to it, like we talked about, but the biggest one is we want to report crashes. The system will crash. It will cause problems and ledger issues and things like that. So you want to typically use big receipts. When doing a transfer request, print the request off to another store to help them know that something needs to get pulled. Then if you want to follow up with a call, no problem, but it's always the store that wants the item. They're the ones responsible for making the request. They can call and get a SKU or something, but they're the ones that should be putting the SKU into the system. Again, if you have any other questions, we can go over them at another time. Thank you very much, and good luck.